Hi, it's Phil from smilinggardener.com, and I've just finished making a nice big compost pile. And what I want to do today is tell you about the organic composting process and show you how to build a pile. And I'm going to show you some footage of me building this pile at superhuman speed. And so really the first thing you'll notice here is the size of the pile. It's about 3 feet by 3 feet, and I was going to go 3 feet high, but I had enough material to make 4 feet high. So it's a little more than a square yard. And when I'm building a compost pile, I want to do it all at once rather than just throwing my organic materials into a bin kind of as I get them. I want to build it all at once because I actually need to have this big of a pile in order to generate heat to kill pathogens and kill weed seeds, and just to make the process go more quickly. I'd like this compost to be done in less than a month. So one of the things I do to make that happen is to build a big pile. Now I can come out here every week or so and dump my food scraps in. What I do is just dig a hole into the middle and dump them in there. It's nice to get them into the pile and then covered with some carbon material like straw. So that's what I do about once a week. So that's the size of the pile. You want to have it a certain size. The next important thing is moisture. So when I build this pile, I need to have a hose nearby because I really want to be watering it a lot of the time. I actually ended up having a sprayer attached right here, and I had the sprayer going about half the time just to keep the pile wet. I want it to be about 50 to 60% moisture, which is, you may have heard before, that's moist, kind of like a wrung out sponge. So, it shouldn't be dripping wet, but it should be very wet because the microorganisms and the earthworms and things that are going to break down the organic matter here, they need moisture. So I really need to have a hose nearby while I'm building the pile. The next thing is my materials. So I kind of think of them largely as carbon materials and nitrogen materials. And the carbon materials are primarily straw and leaves. It could be a little bit of wood chips or sawdust or newspaper or cardboard if I had that. But I use mostly straw and leaves. And of course my straw came from an organic farm because it's not the end of the world, but I'd rather have a straw that doesn't have any pesticide residue in it. And then I have my nitrogen materials. So that's going to be manure and grass clippings and my food scraps. And of course my manure definitely came from animals that didn't have weren't fed antibiotics and dewormers and hormones, whose manure I didn't want it to have been sprayed with pesticides or aluminum or anything like that. So it's from just nice organically raised, in this case it was horse manure, but any manure is okay. So that's my nitrogen materials. So what I do is when I put them into the pile, I'm going to use about 3 times as much carbon materials as nitrogen materials. And that helps me get the proper ratio for the compost to really break down quickly, and that's kind of what the microbes want there, to have about a 3-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio in terms of volume. In terms of weight, it's more like 25-to-1 or 30-to-1. So the process is basically, I like to build it right on the ground because I want earthworms to come up from my soil and other microorganisms. So I actually wet the ground first, build it right on the ground, and then I put a layer of brush, like some big, some branches and things like that. And that's going to allow oxygen, air, to come up through the bottom of the pile and up into the pile. So I put at least a few inches of brush down at the bottom. And then I start throwing in my materials, and some people like to do it in layers, but I really like to throw them in all kind of just taking turns. So I'll throw in the equivalent of maybe a couple shovels of straw and a shovel of leaves, and then a shovel of manure or grass clippings. And then I go back to the beginning and I keep doing that. There are actually a whole bunch of ingredients that I call activators that I throw into the pile. And I get a lot more into that, and really this whole composting process I get into a lot more detail in the Smiling Gardener Academy. But there's too many sort of little things I throw in there to talk about now, but they're optional. For now I just want to tell you about the basics. So I'm throwing in straw, leaves, grass clippings, food scraps, and manure. And what I do is just kind of keep throwing that in, watering the pile as I go until it gets to be the top, and I like to top it off with straw. That really protects the pile. If it's during the wet season, it protects the pile from rain because the straw kind of sheds sheds the rain. It also stops any odors from the food scraps, so it's not going to attract rodents as much, and it's not going to annoy the neighbors and things like that. So I like to top it off with straw. Now in terms of maintenance, I just want to make sure the pile stays at about that 50% moisture level, and then I like to turn it. If I want the pile to be done in less than a month, I'm going to turn it every 3 to 7 days. Basically, whenever it starts to cool down from its really hot temperature that it's going to get to, I turn it. So about every 5 days or so. And it's a good idea to turn it once or twice, but if you don't want to do the turning, there are benefits to letting it be more of a slow compost. It won't be as warm, but it'll be a cooler composting process that, there's a bee, that maintains more nutrients often, and actually some studies show it'll have slightly more ability to suppress disease. So there is something to be said for letting it compost over the course of 6 months, and maybe just turning it a couple of times during that time. And in fact, that's mostly what I do. But just for this first couple weeks, I'm going to turn it once or twice just to make sure everything's incorporated well together, to make sure any weed seeds are going to spend some time in the middle of the hot pile, and the same with pathogens, and just to make sure I have the right, that some oxygen gets in there, because I really want to promote aerobic microorganisms, because that's one of the main reasons I'm composting, is to inoculate my garden with beneficial air-breathing microbes. So I do want to turn the pile a couple of times to make sure that I have the microorganisms in there. And plus, I've taken them out now, but I put some poles down in there while I was building it, and then when the pile was done, I kind of did this and pulled them out. So now I have these big holes going down in there that are going to allow oxygen to get down into the pile. So I hope I've covered everything. I mean, like I said, in the Academy, I have a couple hours worth of video talking about composting. But that's the basic process right there. And if you follow those steps, you're going to make a really nice compost. So if you have any questions for me about this process, post them down below and I'll answer them. Or if you have any tips that I didn't share that you'd like to share with everyone else, let me know, post them down below, and maybe we can get a nice thread going here about how to make the best possible organic compost pile. So I hope you enjoyed that, and if you haven't picked up the 15 vital organic gardening lessons for becoming a better organic gardener, you can get those at smilinggardener.com. And in there are just a whole bunch of lessons that really blew me away when I was first learning about organic gardening. So there's some really cool stuff in there. So that's at smilinggardener.com, and I hope you enjoyed this composting lesson.